Welcome, 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 everyone, to another adventure into reality. Once again, my co host David Ellis is here with a very special guest of his own. David, welcome to the show.
Oh, yes, I have a very special guest today. Meet Holly Lotus. Holly has a few stories to tell, and today we are going to be talking about sex. Yes, I'm going to repeat that. We're going to be talking about sex, everybody. All different kinds of sex. Let me tell you a little bit about Holly. Holly is an erotic blueprint coach. She also is a massage therapist, and she deals with helping parents, couples who are also parents, recover their intimacy and the passion and the spark in their lives. So, first of all, I'm going to let Holly introduce herself. Holly, say hello to these people.
Hi, everybody. So something I love about parents, working with parents, is that it trickles down to the kids. You know, we come in and parents are not lit up in their sex lives, and then it just kind of like brings all the passion and excitement out of their life in different areas. So once you start waking up your sexuality as a parent, then your kids get more enlivened and you just start to have more fun in all the areas of your life. So I've been doing this for about 8 years, studying everything I can get my hands on about intimacy and relationships, communication. And I'm excited to be here. So I wonder what kind of things we're going to talk about today.
Well,
Oh,
give people a little background of what you did before this and then the journey that led you there.
Okay, great. So before I got into sexuality, I actually, years ago, I was in the military. I was in the Army, and I was actually deployed and sent on a deployment and by myself, the only woman with a bunch of men. And so I had this experience on that deployment that taught me a lot about me and men and how I was behaving and the way that we behave differently. And so that kind of what sparked me learning more about women and men and how we relate. And then I was a stay-at-home mom actually for after I got out of the military. I was a stay-at-home mom, for a single stay-at-home mom. So you can imagine, like, I don't know if you can imagine, but a sex life as a single stay-at-home mom was almost non-existent. And it was hard to like meet the right people, get my needs met in those relationships, make the time for it. And so I did that. I was just my daughter's 12 now. So that's been 11 years of being a single stay-at-home mom. And so I've had to learn how to navigate dating as, you know, I never even had babysitters. So most of my dating and stuff, it was like, let's get really clear about what this relationship is. How far is it going to go before you meet my daughter? And it's like Netflix and chill, right? Because that's like, I have time when my daughter's sleeping. So I had to learn how to navigate a dating world as a single mom, and realize like that, you know, our kids see everything that goes on, whether we want them to or not. And then I realized that like some of the relationships I was having were really, really toxic. So that's what spurred me like 8 years ago to start studying about how to communicate, you know, what sex even means, how I want to have it, and can it look different for everybody? What if I don't like it the way you like it? And then turn that into this fun coaching career where I get to help other parents to enliven their lives.
So if there were two myths that you want to break about sexuality, what are the top two myths that people fall into that you'd like to break?
Let me see. Only men like to fuck.
Ah, good one.
Sometimes women are just like, just give it to me. That's all. Don't just, then you can go. That's all I need.
And then the man goes, "What? No romance? What?
Yes.
No romance?"
the second myth.
Let me think. Second myth is Well, I guess one of the big ones that everybody, like, there's no such thing as a G-spot, and not everybody can squirt.
Okay, great. There is a
I mean,
G-spot, and everyone can
But
squirt.
squirt.
yeah, you
Yeah,
can,
everyone.
yeah,
Like a fire hose.
anybody can learn it. Yep.
And it's not urine.
Yep.
It's not
It
urine.
does come from the urethra, but it's not urine.
It's not urine.
Yeah,
That's
there's so
another
many
big
other
myth.
myths, but yeah, that's a big one that, like, people think that they're incapable of that, or that
So
that's
we want to test out the chat room here. Any women that have had squirting or non-squirting experiences, kind of write in the chat room. If you've never had it, just say never. And if you had, maybe give us an example. We're trying to be interactive here. We have an erotic blueprint coach that will have an opportunity to help you get through some of your issues. So come on, everyone. And if you're in the chat room,
And for
or you're
those,
listening later on, please write your comments into the YouTube or Facebook chat area.
and for those of you who think I don't got any issues, you do. As soon as you think that, you do. So
I'll tell you, even the sex coach has issues.
yeah, okay. So we're gonna get into this. First of all, let's start with the concept of sex, the anatomy of it. We all know you got your pee-pee, I got my whatever. And
Pee-pee and hoo-hoo.
some people never get past that stage. Okay. Some people never get past that stage. So Holly, what do you want to talk about in terms of the anatomy of the female body? And this educates some of the men in the audience as to what works and what doesn't work.
Well, so the first thing I want to say is calling it a pee-pee and a hoo-hoo. Where does that come from?
The 4-year-old.
Right. So that's actually, like, one of the things when I'm working with parents,
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, it's a vulva and a penis, or a cock and a dick. Like, you can use the words. And I teach my daughter, like, my daughter was 4 and I started teaching her anatomy. She was like, this is my clitoris, so she could know that she has this piece of her body that was just given to her for the purpose of pleasure, because kids are curious from that early age, and then we don't really teach them what they have available to them, and that's comes from so many different things, because we were taught a certain way how to call it, and then, like, shamed if we said a word
Hey,
like,
I need to pause there. So you guys in the chat room, please give me an idea of what your pet names for the penis and the vagina are, please. Please, we need some humor in this show. Just throw it in the chat room, and yeah, uncensored is correct.
Yes, uncensored, uncensored, unfiltered.
Right. What is your pet name for penis and vagina?
what's another one you have, David?
Well, I don't have any. I just threw that out because I heard it recently, and I'm like, that is hilarious. What the hell is a pee-pee? You mean the thing?
I mean, how
pee
much
out
of a turn on? How much of a turn on is that if your girl comes and be like, "Give me your pee-pee"?
How much of a
If they're
turn
German,
on
if they're German, they might like it.
how much of a turn off is it if you're a man and he said, "Would you like to see my pee-pee?"
Yeah.
Like, as a woman, like, seriously.
No.
Ken for penises and Jenny for pussy. Johnson, seriously, you know how many people are named Jenny? And what about the entire Pakistani continent, who half of them have the last name Khan? Hey, Khan. This is going to be a new. Okay. So, Holly, with regard to the anatomy of a woman, most men are under a lot of false impressions about how sex works. Okay?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter how many songs they hear from women telling them you gotta lick it before you stick it, or all the other talk. They just don't get it. Yeah. So I went to a convention with Holly some months ago, a erotic blueprint convention, and that's a type of person who is only interested in getting their pants off, getting it in something, anything, doesn't matter what, right? And having an orgasm. So Holly, you want to just give the audience a spectrum of who and what kind of sexual creatures are there out there right now?
Yes. So, as an erotic blueprint coach, there are basically these languages for sex, like the way that we're blueprinted in our body, we receive sex in different ways. So, one of those myths is like women don't, men are the ones that just want to have sex, but that's not true. So, some women can just go to sex, and like, all I want is my genitals touched, and I just want that stimulated, and that's it. Don't cuddle me. I don't need all that fluff, right? And that's actually called a sexual blueprint. Sometimes I play in that. Like, I play in that a lot. Sometimes I'm just like really horny. I just want to have sex and get off and then be done and get on with my day because I have a lot of shit to do. Or I got to go make breakfast for my daughter.
You have to love this woman. Continue, Holly.
So that's the sexual blueprint. And so a man or a woman or, somebody who's not identified in any gender, anybody can be in the sexual blueprint. And then there's 4 other blueprints. There's energetic, and that is a blueprint who, you need like sometimes a space. So a dark energetic would, like, it's really fun for me to be flirted with from across the room, maybe with like some eye gazing or looks. And then, but if that person comes really close to me and tries to take it any further than their sexy looks from across the room, I'm like, not turned on anymore. Go back. It's like that space between us is like so important. And so there's like the 5 blueprints are energetic, sexual, sensual, and what David's talking about, where like you have to lick it before you stick it. You got to warm somebody up. That's more of the sensual, where you got to like, they like this deep kind of touch, and they like the room to be set up nicely, maybe a bath first, everything clean, the room picked up. I got distracted by the screen. Sorry.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
May I interrupt you in a second? For all those people that are listening on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, if you want to be a part of the call, come into the Zoom room. If you want to be an active part of the chat, come into the Zoom room. And we will be taking calls from Holly a little bit later on. So there's a call-in number for the US, Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia. And the meeting number is 911-001-1974. Please share this link with all of your other friends that want to have some of their sexual questions asked and answered. All right, Holly, go ahead.
Okay, great. So what I was saying was like the 5 blueprints, energetic, sensual, sexual, kinky, and then a shapeshifter. So the sensual is more the one that needs like a certain kind of turn on. Actually, all of them except sexual need a certain amount of, I would say, like in the massage world, we call it fluff and buff, right? Like we need something before we get a dick in the pussy. So we need something before we can go just to sex. And an energetic needs way more than like might need more space. They might need like a whole day of talking about things before they can even think about going to sex. So everybody is wired differently in their sexuality, and some take more time to turn on than others. And there's a shapeshifter that has all of these attributes, and sometimes you don't know where to meet that person at all, and so you just have to ask them sometimes, or you have to really learn their cues. So being a shapeshifter's lover, if you're just a sexual that wants to just have sex, like go for the intercourse and the orgasm right now, you may have a lot more work to do to get there.
What about the kink profile?
Kinky is such a like wide range of things. Like there's psychological kink, there's the kink that we all kind of think about with whips and chains and corsets and a dark private room hiding away in a dungeon somewhere, and like painful, but it doesn't have to be that. Like kink is just means the thing that's taboo for you. And for some people who like identify as kink, the taboo might be missionary. Like that, right. that might be the taboo, because like, what, we don't do that. So kink just means what's taboo for you.
And those taboos have wide ranges and varieties of what was the norm of plain old average plain Jane sex
Mm-hmm.
into something that is new and something for an exploration and adventure is really the nature of kink.
Mm-hmm.
But marketing has a lot more of the tools and objects added into that.
So Holly, I did um my background is in hatha yoga. Incidentally, Holly also does hatha yoga as well. And I always found that the tantric system was very hard to access, but erotic blueprints is actually quite easy because it deals with communication
Mm-hmm.
and it breaks things down to the immediate so that people can actually communicate with each other. Because you always have to think what would happen if somebody who is sensual, very, very sensual, and they need the room set up, they need the candles, they need the perfume in the air and stuff like that, meet somebody who is sexual and extremely kinky. It's like
Right.
it's like bend over the counter now, right? let's crush
Right.
let's crush the rose petals. You're right.
Yeah, so that's the great thing about learning the blueprints, and that's because we learn how then we can learn the languaging
Mhm.
and how our partner or even our kids, like our partners, are functioning. So you can see from a person, you walk into their house, everything's put away in the proper place, really organized, it smells nice. You can start to learn, okay, this person's a sensual. If I want to have sex with them, then I'm gonna need to do these things. And so you start to learn how to approach your partner in a way that speaks to what they can receive. It's kind of like the love languages. It's really like the love languages, where we have our own blueprint for how we feel love. It's the same as we have the blueprint for how we can relate in sex.
So I have a question about the energetic blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Energetic blueprint is more about the vibe, right? Am I correct? The vibration
Yeah.
between people. Okay. Um, if that is just about the vibe, then how does someone who is not energetic relate to someone who's energetic? Because you don't know what vibration that person is running at any point in time. So, for instance, the person might be running a vibration, or what I found about people who are energetic a lot of the times is that they build 3D worlds too, because they realize that people can't access them. So
Mm-hmm.
you might be having sex with an energetic, calling that person by their name, but the person is having sex with Thor, the Norse god, or some shit like that, right?
Right. We called in whatever fun entity we want to play with right now.
Laying down the hammer of Mjolnir on the sensual vulva.
All right. So, what are the problems, the major problems that you receive as a coach when you're dealing with couples or parents or whatever else? What are the two major things that you receive as problems,
Can you ask?
challenges?
The biggest challenge is that they're not. What I've found is that the biggest challenge, they're not communicating. So a lot of times they don't actually know what it is that they want. They don't know their own blueprint, and they're making themselves wrong because they don't want what their partner wants, and then they don't know how to talk about it together. So they're
So
not
a lot of
communicating well.
conversations are, so what do you want? I don't know. What do you want? Do you want to do this? Whatever you want.
Yeah,
And that's not an answer. That's
Mhm.
avoiding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, that worked last time. And then you get into this rut, right? Because you find the thing that worked one time, and then you just do that sex all the time. And then it's boring. Especially, okay, so if a shapeshifter gets into that pattern, then they are absolutely bored out of their mind. And that's when a lot of times, if it's unhealthy dynamic and they don't go out and get the help, those people are the ones that go and cheat, because they're just not having fulfillment in their relationship because they're bored out of their mind.
Mm-hmm. So give us some advice on how to spice up your sex life. You could be as graphic as you want. This is no holds barred. I think the only thing we can do is like booby flash. But anyway, be as graphic as you want. What are the things that you can advise people right now to spice up their sex lives?
Right now, I would say to spice it up would be maybe to change it up a little bit. And so it's basically not the answer that you want. It's like you have to have a conversation. What turns you on? Like you have to start with a conversation, like what's fun for you, and then like open-minded, judgment-free conversation about like what actually turns you on, and what am I willing, like, okay, this is how I'm willing to play in it, and this is what I would like, and then playing with that, and then it kind of like, if they're different things, then it'll create a polarity. So just kind of starting, you can't, so it would be really bad if one partner watched this and was like, oh, I think I'm kinky. And they just went to their partner that they've been doing missionary with for the past 10 years and they slapped them with a spoon, you know, like.
We're talking tablespoon or pot spoon here?
Wooden spoon.
Let me just grab this wooden spoon and go and slap him on the ass, you know? So it starts with the conversation of like, hey, I learned these things and I'd like to have a hotter sex life. I'd like to try new things. Are you willing to do that?
And if you're in the Mediterranean persuasion, it's going to have a whole different reflection.
Okay, so Holly, that was funny. So Holly, in terms of the communication process, there are a lot of people that have a lot of shame around sex, right? So if you are dating or married to somebody who just turned a born-again Christian or was born-again Christian who grew up, I don't know, in Virginia, Virginians, right? Right, who grew up in the Bible Belt, and all they ever did was just preach the Bible and sex is bad, you know. How does that conversation happen? Hi. So you remember that thing that Mary and Joseph did? Wait a minute, that's another question. Oh, actually, that's for another show, right?
It was immaculate. They never did it.
Right, that's for another show. Let's do that for another show, right? How does that conversation start with a Bible thumper, for instance?
So I'll just be honest right up front. I don't know much about religion, so I like, it just starts with.
Let me give you a crash course. Sex is for producing children. It is not for pleasure. If you accept the pleasure, then you're going to hell. Hell, I tell you, that orgasm you just had was a one-way ticket to hell. Go ahead.
Right. So it starts with that first conversation. Like, one of the partners has to actually have the desire for it to be about more than just, we're making children. We're going to have sex. We're going to cover ourselves with a sheet and do the thing that puts the sperm inside, you know, like pee-pee, put the pee-pee in the hoo-hoo.
Take the sheet off, take the sheet off, turn the light on, and talk.
Right. Talk. So that is the biggest shift. And that's talk about, you know, what you want. One partner has to be really, vulnerable and open and start that conversation about, like, I would like to have a new experience. Would you like to play with me in this? So
let's
that's
give a sample example, and the three of us can just play back and forth off of trying not to avoid to actually giving an example of what non-avoidance is like.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Holly, you want to try this with me?
Sure.
You want to be the Christian or you want me to be the Christian?
David's the Christian.
Okay. So you're in a relationship with a Christian and you know their sex views and you've just never gone there with the person, right? Because
this is the first time. This is getting past doggy style missionary and the sin.
They never get past missionary. What are you talking about, doggy style? That's
they get bum backs. Come on, they get bum backs doing it missionary style, so they do it doggy.
First of all, you're hurting my ears because I'm a Christian and you're offending me. Continue. Continue, Holly.
Okay, so how long have we been married?
How does that go?
Does it matter?
5 years. Talk to me about 5 years. 5 years you've been married.
5 years. Okay. So, David, I want to talk to you about something. When it's going to take about 30 minutes.
Sure, hon. You could talk to me about anything. You know that.
You have time now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So I'm just modeling that because it's important, ladies, to ask men for their time. because they may be focused totally somewhere different. So if the, like, just giving
And
that
it's not on you, apparently.
right.
Go ahead.
Their head is at work. So you have to make sure you get their attention and ask permission to have the conversation so that they're paying attention to you. Like, they're really single focused, and you want that attention before you start this kind of talk. So you have, like, I have your permission. So great. So this is really hard for me to start this conversation, but there's something that I would like to have in our relationship that I feel like has been missing.
Sure.
And I know that you come from Christianity and the views about sex there, but I would like to have a more exploration in our sex life.
Our sex life. What's wrong with our sex life? Our sex life is fine. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. What I really like about it is that you're really attentive to you know, making the bed before we have sex, and turning off the lights. And
Well, you know, cleanliness is good, is next to godliness.
yeah, thank you for always making a great space. But there's something that I heard about that I'd like to experiment with. Are you willing to experiment a little bit with me?
What are we talking about?
Well, I heard that there's this thing called energetic sex. Like, we don't have to touch each other. And we just get to kind of like start with looking at each other's eyes. And
Okay, so how does that work?
well, it basically is, what I learned about it is that you create a deeper connection first.
Where did you learn this stuff? Have you been watching porn?
No, I haven't been watching porn, actually. I had a friend who took a course, and then she was telling me about this way to have sex without even touching each other.
Who's this friend?
I got really curious.
Who's this friend? And why are you guys talking about sex? Is she in our church?
Yeah, actually, we were talking about it at brunch the other day after church.
I just want to say that it's kind of strange to have this conversation. And what is this energetic sex? Is it? You said there's no touching, so how is this going to work?
Well, so first we would just start by eye gazing. That's what I've heard. And then I don't really know, but I know that there's this class that she went to, and we can learn a little bit more. Are you open to going to a class?
A class?
Mm-hmm.
A class where there's a lot of sex happening?
No, there's no sex. They just kind of talk about different concepts and what sex means to different people.
I don't know, Holly. I don't know, you know. It seems really odd to me. I mean, like, really, talking about sex with people, that always leads down the dark road. Like, it always starts with the talking, you know. It always starts with the talking. And then somebody wants to try something, and then you find yourself in a group with a bunch of people, and they're going to, like, eventually, you know, want to have sex with you or me. And you wouldn't like that, would you, hon?
Of course not. No, those aren't the agreements of our relationship. We've chosen to be monogamous with each other. So that's not what I want. I just want us to have more connection.
Oh, so this is about you and me, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So why do we have to involve other people? Why can't we just Google it?
Yeah, I'm willing to go there too. Let's Google it first and see what we can learn.
Okay, as long as it's within the sanctity of marriage, I suppose we should try something. Do you guys understand how that works? You understand how Holly successfully navigated my issues, okay? Because she knows anything that involves too much sex or too much enjoyment, I'm going to be suspect, right? So what I want you guys to understand is that when you're dealing with these people who are resistant to that sex discussion, you need to anticipate what it is that they're going to say and prepare answers to suit what is happening. If you don't do that, you're going to find yourself in a trap where the person goes into complete resistance and does not respond to you the way that you want, which stops you. Like, honestly speaking, for a Christian to go to a class may be an issue because the people in the class wouldn't necessarily be Christian, right? And if they're like that kind of person, you need to be aware that they have boundaries, and you need to be able to navigate that. Speaking about boundaries, Holly, talk to me about boundaries.
So boundaries. So how many of us actually create a boundary or a container of our relationship from the very beginning? Not very many, because we don't think that that's okay. Like once we're in a marriage, once we're in a relationship, the way that it started is the way that it always is. And we never have the conversation of like, this is how I am willing to be touched, or I'm not willing to accept that treatment or these words. So setting a boundary is, I don't know, I like to call it an agreement instead of a boundary, because boundaries feel like walls between us sometimes, but like setting up the container of like, and it's again a conversation. This is where we're not meeting each other in relationship, is that we just get into these and we don't have the conversations that are necessary to have a successful, open type of communication and relationship. So like the boundaries are based on, you know, what works for me, what works for you, and then just communicating those and then finding the middle ground in a relationship.
So
what I wanted to say before about like the conversation we had is that like sometimes there's a moment when you realize that the person's not ready yet, and I just want to give permission that it's 100% okay to explore this sexual stuff on your own before bringing it to a partner. So all of the blueprints can be fed by yourself. Like I was a single stay-at-home mom. I did 2 years of celibacy, and that's the 2 years that I was learning all about tantra, and like it basically, I think it's called white tantra when you're doing it by yourself. I'm not exactly sure if that's true, but
Can you guys give an example of people who are ready to talk about it but have just avoided it? So similar to what you did, except going a little bit more into it.
Like he's actually interested.
Yes, but they
like,
don't. They're both. You're both trying to say I want something different, but aren't actually saying it. How to get that next level in? Because David knows how to be lawyer evasive, and yet somebody will have to plant the seed. That's what makes this great.
So that would just take one of them getting, typically it's like one of them is so fed up and they don't have that communication tool or that like idea that it's okay to talk. So and it might go like this, like you just try something new, not something like don't grab the spoon and slap them right away, but you can ask like, I heard of this thing. What do you think of, you know, if I slapped your ass with a wooden spoon? What would that be like for you? You know, you could just approach it like that, like ask the partner, like instead of having this huge conversation in the very beginning, just say, you know, I have always been curious about that. What do you think about this? And get their response and see like what that conversation. So what would you think if we started sex with staring at each other's eyes? Or what if I just wanted to have you suck my cock? That's the only thing that I want. Some people
my
just
sensibilities,
do that.
My sensibilities.
Right. So a way to approach the topic without like, I want to sit down, want to have this conversation, is just to say like, accidentally put on a porn one day or accidentally put on a show and be like, if you see something you like, where are you getting these ideas? Wherever you see that, accidentally put it on in front of your partner and be like, oh my gosh, what do you think of that? So you can kind of test the waters where they are, you know?
I have this image of a whole bunch of people who are watching this broadcast, partners waking up with a sex magazine over their face, like,
oh my gosh.
like hint, we need to try this, right? Okay, so I suppose it's more difficult for a woman to approach it. because depending on how you've been acculturated, women see themselves as a lot of them do as being just the receptacle for sex and not the aggressor. Okay, that's not all of them, but a large majority of the women do. How do they get past that issue?
Well, how do you get past like feeling like a slut?
Yep, correct.
Well, so there's lots of ways that you can do it. Basically, it's just realizing that. So I just want to say that we were given a clitoris. Pleasure, like a clitoris is on our body for the sole purpose of pleasure. Women, we get that. Like that was something that if you're religious, like God gave us, right? Or there's something that we're born with, this place on our body that gives just pleasure. And so if we can just own that, then our sexuality is basically what we're supposed to have. You know, we get to have it, and we reframe it from the way that society makes it. Like if we have pleasure in our body and we like to feed it, then we're sluts and skanks. Or if we go, it's basically just kind of like breaking that social norm and getting to the place of not giving any fucks about what the judgments are of others, and owning where you are and what you would like in your life. So that would be the first step. And then of course there's like ways to get past all the shaming that we've had. I mean, okay, so I started being called Holly the Hoe in 5th grade because I grew boobs. Like it starts, it's like, is that a fucked up nickname? Like I was 11.
I knew a girl, and by the time she was 14, she was nicknamed the Town Hoe.
Oh my gosh, right? And like at that point I had kissed a boy, but that's about it, you know? Like, but Holly the Hoe, and then what? I take that with me my whole life and suppress so that I don't live up to it. We like
It has a kind of Christmas ring to it. Ho ho Holly. Like,
it's a way of frequency on it.
So, all right. So, Holly, with regard to women and pleasure, you want to give them tips on? Honestly, I found that women who are more sensual and more awake sexually are the women that actually pleasure themselves. So, you want to speak to that?
Yes. Hi ho Holly. The comments. Sorry.
Let your fingers do the walking.
That's exactly. So self-pleasure is, how do I start that?
By pleasuring yourself with the conversation.
First thing is permission. This is our body. Like it's your body, you get to touch it. Like it's mine. And if I don't know how to use it, then how do I explain to my lover how to use it? How do I guide him to please me? So self-pleasure to me is like the biggest form of self-care, because if you know your needs, your like what turns you on, what makes you feel good, then you can guide your lover to get there too. And that's one of the biggest things. Like we're not actually playing with our body. And so permission first, it's yours. You get to touch it any way feels good for you. And then there's so many ways to touch your body, you know, like maybe you're not sexual and it's like, I don't want to, you know, some women, like we get attached to the way that we pleasure. Like, okay, so even if you're pretending that you don't, I know that you do, explore your orgasm. And some people don't. Like some women have never, in their 70s, have never had an orgasm because it's just not okay to go there. But it is your birthright and you can have that. So there's like playing with the different parts of your vagina, your vulva. There's so much pleasure on the inside. There's so much pleasure on the outside. There's places like your inner thighs. If you just squeeze your inner thighs, that is like it starts the hormones moving and starts a turn on for some of us. Some of us have to start with like just not touching our body. That's energetic, you know, you like start by putting on a certain music, maybe putting incense in the room, you know. I just kind of got lost in the way that I like would pleasure. There's so many ways to learn about self-pleasure, and it's so important to learn to start before you get in the conversation with your lover. So that's what I was saying before. One partner in a relationship can change the entire relationship just by working on themselves, and you don't have to have the conversation yet. You just start changing the way that you behave with yourself, and then your partner will start to realize like, hey, something's different. What's happening here? And if they're paying any attention at all to you, they may notice. And if not, then indulge in yourself. And then that's when the conversation, like David, when we were having our conversation, and he was really resistant. And if he had stayed resistant, then that may be a time to evaluate, like, is this relationship going to work for me? You know, one of the things that I do in my coaching is help people break up because they're not actually in a compatible relationship. And the conversation.
Praise the Lord.
Absolutely.
Said, break
Love
up.
it.
Yes, the conversation will
yeah.
never go anywhere. And so you get to leave and you get to have what you want, and it may not be where you are.
I cannot tell you how many people have called in and then they're a 20-year miserable relationship. And I'm the one that has to says, then why are you still together?
Yes.
Call it quits.
Call it quits.
Because codependency is a real thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And not like just because we had sex with a person doesn't mean we're supposed to stay together.
Right.
And
You're
just because you have kids together, that's me, like most of the time, a lot of the time, it's not the healthiest thing to stay together just because you have a kid.
Right. It's toxic for everyone, including the kid.
Yeah, the kids are really suffering. Like, and then we spend then the kids grow up. Like, why do I work with parents? Because I love kids. I love kids, and I want, like, if their parents are happy, then the kids are going to be happier, you know, and they're going to have this different kind of life growing up if their parents are doing healthy relationship.
So, a relationship that is happier sexually breeds happier kids.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Especially like when you're pregnant, you should be having sex all the way up to your 9 months. It makes a much easier and stronger pregnancy. Because it releases more chemicals and all the hormones that you get with it.
Yeah, and it can make birthing easier. I know some people practice like orgasmic birthing. I haven't looked much into that, but it's absolutely a thing. Or
orgasmic birthing is not for everyone. Thing first.
Yes.
If you don't have a pain tolerance, you don't have a breathing exercise, and you're not a disciplined person, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Okay. They're all too often you're ending up in extremely long birth processes, 12, 15 hours.
Mine
and yes,
18.
there are many people or more, and there are many people that end up, yes, it's a blissful experience all the way, but their body is shot afterwards. It takes 2 years to recover. Some don't. It isn't for everyone. You really have to take some serious thought and working with a doula and a conscious birther person long before you get pregnant. So you will not only understand the fundamentals and basics, you've practiced it long before the pregnancy to know that it's truly for you. Because it's not an instant gratification thing. That's a long process of being pregnant and giving birth.
Yeah.
If in 9 months you cannot learn proper breathing technique, then we might have a problem.
Exactly.
Houston, we have a problem. I want to actually go into this section because a lot of our audience, Koji, we're getting to that just now. So a lot of our audience has a spiritual slant to them. And I was asked recently about sex and using sex as a manifestation tool. I just want to flip the frequency there a little bit, okay? So there are a lot of arcane sexual practices. Some of it is comes under the heading of sex magic. Some of it comes under the heading of a number of other sexual alchemy and so on. A lot of people don't know what the difference is between these things, okay? So I'm going to start off with a sexual alchemy, and I'm going to give a definition, and Holly, we can talk about it. Sexual alchemy deals with changing yourself through sexuality, transmuting of energy between people. It's not sex magic. Don't get the two caught up with each other. The two are not the same thing.
Right. And both partners have to agree to do it. One partner cannot be saying, I'm manifesting sex magic, and you need to be at the same level. Unfortunately, that shit backfires on you, especially when you don't tell the other partner you're doing it.
Okay, so let's try with the sexual alchemy and let's do a definition. So, Holly, it's long been known that sex has a lot of effects. It is one of the very few ways that everybody can access their higher mind. Everybody can access their subconscious, right? It's a direct road up into the more subtle parts of yourself. What is your advice to people who want to practice sexual alchemy?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that I just want to simplify it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned this saying in Access Consciousness, but it absolutely applies here with sex. It's like, and I'm going to use money. So you can manifest anything, but actually, like, money follows joy. Joy doesn't follow money. So when you're having fun, then you have more in your life. And more money, more of the whatever the thing is that you're asking to have more of, it will follow the joy of your living. And if that comes in orgasm or any way, then that's the way to manifest. So sex magic, yes, you can like bring up these energies in your body and have great sex and like be asking, but what you're really doing is having like ecstatic and like huge amounts of pleasure. And then you're asking for the thing you want. And of course you're going to get it because you're like living in pleasure. So just simplify, money follows joy. Things come when you're having fun, when you're choosing the thing that's fun for you and you're doing it, then more of the things that you're asking for in your life will come.
Can you imagine if people clued on to this subject that I can fuck my way to success? Well, people have fucked their way to the top, but you could fuck your way to a success. Can you imagine? Maybe we should market that, Andrew. We should put that in a little flyer and drop it from airplanes and stuff like that.
I think our motto is fuck away to success, buy our product now.
All right. So I just wanted to
technically there's a whole profession around it.
Yeah, there's yeah. So with regard to the sexual alchemy, if you want to change yourself utilizing sex, because sex is connected to many of your issues, you don't know that. You don't know this until, of course, you realize that the shampoo you bought was because you thought you would be more attractive to the opposite sex. The car you drive was not bought functionally, whether it be a sports car, you bought it for the opposite sex. The way you dress, the clothes you wear,
and the size
of
the size of your sports car engine is relative to your penis size.
Yeah, the bigger it is, the smaller it is. Anyway, so right, so that's funny. So this is basically the stuff we want to. So sexual alchemy is about accepting yourself versus a sexual creature, understanding that there is pleasure in acceptance. Okay. There is a submission of the ego inside the acceptance of yourself. Okay, your ego is submitted. And by the way, those people whose egos are under control have better sex. All right,
let's talk about that for a second, because so many people, as soon as they get regular sex and then it's gone like a breakup, that sexual ego takes over, which drives them into self-deplority.
Yeah, or finding that next unhealthy thing just to get the sex, right? Just so that I can have sex, I'm going to put up with this person, and there maybe it's smoking. Maybe somebody doesn't like the smoking in their relationship, but they're going to deal with a smoker because they get to have sex.
Hey, this smoker might have a really big cigar.
Right. So I'll say because I have been sexually driven, like I love sex. I love good sex. And so I stay in relationships too long if the sex is good. but it's like a conscious choice. So there's a place where it can be detrimental because you know you're doing something and it's not fun, but like you're just doing it so that you can have sex. Or there's this place where it's like, yeah, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, but you know, this does. And so I choose to have that. So like none of it's wrong. Like whatever choice the person's making or why they're interacting is not wrong. It's when it's being detrimental to our life and our happiness that maybe a change needs to be made.
Okay. So that's the sexual alchemy aspect. The sex magic aspect requires preparation. A lot of people think, oh, I just read a book on sex magic. Let's do it and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or those that are trying to get pregnant and don't want to use IUV. Now that's for, I have many clients that come to me that don't want to use the intravenous fertilization medicines and drugs because it's terrible on the body. And the success rate is all depend on your intent, your personal influence, and your connection with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying they're using sex magic to manifest like having a baby?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that sometimes, sorry, what did I want to say about that? I was going to say, it may have nothing to do with like sex that they're not having the baby. You know, like there's so many underlying things, like focusing on sex may not work. I haven't read the book about sex magic. I do, like when I amplify the pleasure in my life and I do it in a way that like plays with money, then it brings more things. Plays with money, plays with like the thing that I want. When I'm calling that in while I'm like in a highly aroused state, then it does bring that thing closer to me. But I don't, like I haven't played or read the book or like the sex magic book. Mm-hmm. So
there's very few good books on it. And
yeah.
when people come to me, these are highly conscious people that understand the nature of meditation and the meditative state a couple can reach afterwards, in which they can share a limited form of vision, which is putting the baby in the womb. And then having the sperm meet the egg and using a guided meditation where one's
Can I say something here?
Go ahead.
You know, you know what? Let me just prove my point here. For the men in the chat, and this is only for the men in the chat, please, how many of you know how long a woman's cycle is? Just throw it in there. What is the length of the average woman's cycle, menstrual cycle? Oh. Go ahead. Because one person, what is the average length of the average woman? Wait, they are Googling. Seriously? The women in the chat room, what is the average length? 4 weeks, really? Right? The women in the chat room, what is the average length of a woman's?
Yeah, mine's 27 days.
All right. So here's what. For the men who answered wrongly, get yourself a wooden spoon and hit yourself on the ass with it right now. Okay. For the women in the chat room, because you guys are really, really smart, right? How many of y'all know where your skin gland is or what it is? What is the skin gland?
They're Googling it. They're Googling it again, David.
The women in the chat room, your anatomy, it's on you. So tell me, what is the skin gland and what does it do? Oh, look, silence.
They're waiting to be told.
Crickets. We have crickets. You guys, that your skin gland is directly related to your sexuality. So if you don't know what it is, you gotta get yourself a mirror. You gotta get yourself a mirror. You gotta get on that bed and you gotta look down there.
Yes, ladies, did you know that that's okay to look at your own pussy?
No, it's not skin gland. It's skin. Right? And the skin gland is what you need to stimulate for you to have that female ejaculation. Okay? It's what you need to stimulate. And it's not that easy to stimulate. It's connected to a bunch of nerve endings, which we call the what? Pop quiz. Sex pop quiz. Come on, guys. What? Oh my gosh! Wow! Crickets in the chat room. You know what? We just the clitoris, G spot. Yes, the G spot is a bundle of nerves.
which is
How do you?
connected to your vagus nerve.
It
Ooh.
boom, because it creates a cascading effect. Because that's what you want in terms of sexuality. You want a cascading effect. Okay. So now,
So here
go ahead.
here. So this is the vagina. The clitoris would be more like up here. The typical anatomy. There's so many ways that pussies and cocks are shaped that are different, but this typical vagina, clitoris a little above that. There's a urethra in between, and then around the clitoris is the skein glands. And what I call them, like I had this vulva mapping session with a gynecologist that was in one of the programs that I took, and she like put cameras inside and she mapped out our entire our uterus, like everything. She mapped it out for us and we got to see, and the insides and on the outside with this camera. We watched it on the screen while she was doing it. So the skein glands, I saw them and I call them like my mermaid gills, because they're just like these little tiny little openings, like with little flaps that like you stimulate them and fluid comes out. And so you can stimulate them and get the fluid to come out. And then the G spot is like on the inside of, and sometimes on the outside. So sometimes maybe an inch in. Mine is like, I can feel my G spot just on the tips of my fingers being on the inside. So some are like much deeper in. Yeah, thank you. The skein glands, my mermaid gills. They're just like little flappy openings. So G spot is located in different places for different women. Sometimes it's deeper in, and sometimes it's like you can push down, like bear down, like if you're pushing a baby out, and the G spot will come out because it's that close to the opening.
So we hope that we've just educated you guys, because you know I'm going to give you all pop quizzes every once in a while, all right, to show like the women in the chat room. For those of you who did not know where your skin gland is or how to access your G spot, go get that wooden spoon and slap yourself on the ass with it really, really hard right now. Okay, because
well, so no, I want to say that it's not wrong to not know, because we are not allowed. I did something crazy when my daughter was little. I started learning all of these things when she was about 4. I started learning really about the anatomy of my body. I knew my clitoris. I had a really great relationship with my clitoris since I was young. But like, that's because I explored myself privately, quietly, in shame and hiding, right? But I did it. But like when my daughter was 4, I started learning all these things. So when I was instructed in the program that I was in, it was called Red Mastery. I was instructed to take out a mirror and look at myself. Like I had this huge closet door mirror. And so I was like, all right, what is this down here? And I looked at my pussy, right? And I got really intimate with it. And but
I'm sorry.
we are not
the visuals. Continue.
I know. I don't want to give you that. I know you can't see my leg over here. Like like I'm like spread eagle in front of this mirror, and I'm like, wow, you know, how come we aren't taught this as kids? Like I had one time that's getting off topic. Anyway, so I'll go there. I had a medical issue. I had like interstitial cystitis, and the doctor was like diagnosing me for this, and he was a male doctor at the VA, and he was like, what is it called? Giving me an examination, and he needed to put something in my urethra, right, to test out to see if how my bladder was doing, like to get a camera in there. And he stuck his finger into my vagina, and he was like, oh, I thought that was your urethra. Bullshit, man. Like when I looked in the mirror, it was like a couple years after that, you can plainly see that this is a vagina, you know, like this is so he was just molesting me basically. But you can see everything. You get really like, look in the mirror, look at your pussies, ladies. I gave my daughter, the crazy thing that I did was give my daughter a mirror, a little handheld mirror when she was 4. And because she was curious, like, what age do our kids get curious, right? They start touching themselves, and then we shame them. Like, no, you don't touch that. Don't touch that. Don't do it. And that's when we decided, ladies, this is when we decided that we can't touch our own body. So new permission, touch your own body and look at it. But I gave my daughter a mirror and I taught her all the parts of herself. And I said, just go explore, go see. And if you're going to do these things, then you can say, I need to go in my room and I need privacy, and do your thing. Like, I gave her full permission.
I think it's the same for men, because masturbation is frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually a linguistic term around it, getting caught with your dick in your hand. Right?
Literally. Yeah.
Getting caught with your dick in your hand. I think that there's a lot of shame around these things. Getting past these things is getting past the shame is usually a very difficult process for a lot of people. Certain cultures are a lot harder on women and men than others. Certain cultures have it imbibed in their religions. Let's talk about, like, I don't know if you've ever had a couple who is Hindu or Muslim. Okay. Well, I've had these couples inside my office more than once, and the topic of sex comes up, and then you get the complete shutdown and says, you know what? There is nobody in the room besides myself and yourself. Let it out, my sister. Let it out. Okay? And can I tell you that there is a big shift in people when they are able to talk about their sexuality and their sexual experience in an open forum. Okay? So I only want to say that because there are going to be people probably in Mumbai listening to this. Sisters, talk about your sexuality. Find somebody that you trust who's not going to call you ho Holly or anything like that. And right, and talk about that stuff. Get it off your chest. Get it off your system.
Yeah, the first step is finding like a judgment-free place to be able to talk about it.
Robert. All right. And for the men who don't explore themselves, you know what? I'm going to throw another pop quiz inside here, because men usually think we know our bodies. We held that thing from the time we were born. Okay, pop quiz. You guys ready? What does vas deferens do? Okay, let's translate that into English.
Baby words, David.
The tube underneath your penis that's inside your scrotum. What does it do? Okay. Do you know that the fluid that comes out of your penis when you ejaculate is not sperm? Did you all know that? Silence, crickets. Listen, people, we need to have more. We need to have more than one show like this.
Minds are blown, right? Minds are blown.
We have crickets in the chat room. The stuff that comes out of your penis, the fluid, is not sperm. It contains sperm, but it is not sperm. Okay? So all of you who are thinking, oh man, I got this big load coming out. No, that's not sperm. Sperm is in it. Semen. Spermatozoa. Okay? No trick questions. I'm going to give you all trick questions right now. So that's the first thing I want to talk to you. First question I want to ask you guys about. For those of you who are having sex, who are men, and you're wondering why it is that you're not, they're still Googling, right? And you're wondering, what is the nature of you getting an orgasm fast? Why do men prematurely ejaculate? Let's hear it. What is the main reason men prematurely ejaculate? No, actually, they prematurely ejaculate because they have confidence and inadequacy issues. That's why. That's why. Go ahead, Holly.
Well, and because the pattern from when they were a kid, trying to get it off real quick before mommy catches them.
Yep.
That's the pattern. Like I have to do it fast.
So they have an oversensitivity
ingrained.
issue. They have an
It's
oversensitivity.
ingrained in their sexual pattern because they've been taught from the, like, you have to hurry up and get it done so that nobody catches you, basically, and then that carries on to their sex life.
And then a lot of kids at a young age don't use lube or don't want to bring it in the room because mom knows, what are you doing with the lube? Which then creates a variety of other issues.
You remember that last comedy show?
Yes.
So let me just say something on this comedy show. This is my bottle of lotion. I use it sometimes when I'm on the show. Okay? It's not, when I'm putting it on my hands, it's not anything weird happening.
Sure, David.
All right? So I just squirt my little lotion, put it on my hands. Nothing weird is happening on air. Okay? So anyway, let us move. I keep it close. Anyway, so
my bottle of lube is right here. I'm not stroking my clit as I teach you guys about the skiing glands.
Really?
Like,
okay, let's get into merchandising.
Merchandising. There we go.
Toys. Let's talk about toys. Tell us, what is your favorite toy, Holly?
Let me think. I like the Enjoy.
Do you have a example of what an Enjoy looks like?
Yes. Give me a second. Entertain me.
As the audience waits with bated breath, because now can you hear? Can you feel the audience right now?
Yes. There's quite a few people that were like, huh?
Yeah, y'all didn't think we would go there. We are going there.
Yeah, people pretending to not listen to the show, suddenly going, huh?
All right, what we are going to go there. So this show is about education, and we want to make sure that you guys don't have to go pay lots of money. All right, Holly's a sex coach. You should go to her absolutely if you have a problem. But really, when it comes to education, we want to make sure that you guys know what it is. So Holly, if you're listening to my voice right now, bring out the whole host of toys that you have. Let us see some of that shit.
She had headphones on. She couldn't hear you.
Holly, do you have all the other toys? These people need educating.
I actually just grabbed one of my toy boxes. The other one with the Enjoy in it is at my other house. So,
you said one of your toy boxes? You have more than one toy box?
Yeah. I'm a sex coach. I'm a sex coach. I gotta show people all of the fun options.
Show and tell, my sister. Show and tell. Let's see everything that you have in that box.
So toy boxes can be super simple and super inexpensive to make, or you can get crazy out of hand. Like, so a really great sex toy is a Hitachi wand.
One of the original things that was for massage, but then Hitachi realized everyone was buying it for masturbation and discontinued it. They didn't want to be associated. But now they've sold like 40 million units.
That's bad business. I would make a whole bunch of them. I would change my whole business model. Go ahead.
I have used the Hitachi wand for massaging. Actually, for massaging, because it's actually a very great massage tool if you've got somebody with very awfully tight muscles, but it can easily transition into something that isn't for that purpose.
So I have really great massage. I'm a massage therapist too, so I have really good massage tools that I use for self-pleasure.
Okay, let's see some of these toys, Holly.
Okay, so really simple. This could be a toy. You know, we see these like in the toy section at the kid, like you get to massage as you check out. This could be a sex toy. A little, my daughter helped me create my kit. She's like, she got a whip. Obviously my daughter, she's 12, but I can tell her blueprint because she likes to wear collars. She likes to play with handcuffs. She likes to be put in cages. She is a kinky blueprint, kinky sexual, sensual, kinky. So you can tell by the way a person behaves or the way that they dress what blueprint they're in. So she chose to put this in my toy kit. What do we got? This one's probably good for a sexual.
That's a G-spot stimulator.
Yep.
Does it
I
move
mean,
up and down? Is it one of those that moves up and downs, or is it just a vibrating tip and base?
a vibrating tip and base.
Okay,
Mm.
because they have ones that is shaped like a letter SLE that is a double stimulator, and then they open and close.
Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds fun.
There's so many things. There's so many things out there.
Holly goes Googling after, after
You just
the
pop your
broadcast.
list. Pop your links in the list, please. Here, like this is a cat toy, right? But it's super soft. So a sensual, this is a sex toy for a sensual because you just run it along their skin.
Mhm.
And it feels so good to them that it creates like that turn on from the touch of their skin.
Mm. No cats were harmed in the making of this broadcast.
Right? It's a simple toy. Another one to stimulate for a sensual is like, what is this? Like a
Like something
marinade
you could get at a dollar
spreader,
store.
right? This is a lot of this is dollar store stuff because I teach people how they can explore their bodies in all these different ways. The sexuals go for the vibrators mostly because you want to stimulate your genitals, but all the other blueprints have all these other ways of playing with sex that has nothing to do with the genitals. So like an energetic does not have to have penetration and maybe can't even have a genital stimulation at all. You can't touch them. You maybe don't even get close to their body and they can have an orgasm. They can have an orgasm with somebody they're flirting with from across the room. So sex toys look different to different people. And that's why I brought my toy box so that I can show you different things. Like this is a massage tool, but it's a stone, so it can be an energetic. Like these stones have energetic properties, so it can feed an energetic by the energy of the stone. You place them around you, put them on your body. I have a jade egg that you insert.
What is a jade egg used for?
Jade egg is used for strengthening the pelvic floor muscles, and an energetic can feed off the energy of the egg, of the stone, of the jade. But basically, like, I learned this from Saida Desales. She is like the jade egg goddess, and I think that's even her brand. But she has a jade egg mastery course that I took. And basically, you don't insert the stone, like you just put it on the outside starting, and your pussy, like, okay, so a pussy will turn on and let you know when it wants to be penetrated. So what I learned in the jade egg course is like, you don't just insert things into your pussy. You
Draw them in.
let your pussy pull them in. Like your pussy will actually do this motion when it comes alive and when it's ready and when it wants to be penetrated. It does this gnawing motion basically. It's like pulling the thing in. So a jade egg will be pulled in and then it will stay in there. If your pelvic floor muscles are strong enough, it'll stay in there. And like you can go throughout your entire day, ladies, and have your pussy playing with this egg. And so much pleasure is available in that.
Can you imagine the Google searches after this show? Can you imagine the people running out to the dollar store to get those handheld mirrors?
Look at your pussies. Yes. Learn
Yes.
yourself.
So one of the other ones, a company out there.
Motorcycle is, I'm sorry, I just saw something in the chat. A motorcycle is a self-pleasure toy. I used to ride before my accident and it was so good. My motorcycle was one of my best friends.
Is it the vibration that comes up from the seat?
Yes, and you're just like straddled on it, like, whoo.
All right. All over the chat room, women are like, I'm trading in my man for a motorcycle.
So one of the couples company, WeVibe, came out with the Sync, which is a G-spot clitoris stimulator. It's shaped like a letter C all in one. And it has a phone app on it that allows you to remotely control it.
I just saw that one.
Yeah. So I've had tremendous experience with couples reconnecting to each other with that journey.
So another thing that I want to say, oh good, somebody put Saida Desales in there. Perfect. OMG Yes is a great app if you want to learn about how to work a pussy.
Literally. If you want to learn how
Literally.
to work it. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit down at the office desk and you're gonna study this stuff.
All right, so we talk about the merchandising so people get an idea of what they can do. Let's talk about the actual single person going out there to find someone.
Actually, I want to talk real about some of these special pillows that's called the Liberator. Are you familiar with that one?
Yeah, there's one in
So
my
this
closet
one,
right there.
this one really
What,
helps
you have a
lot.
Liberator?
You want to see it?
Yes, if nobody's ever seen it, you just think it's a little like coffee cushion.
Yeah,
But it
here, I'll grab it.
unfolds to allow some incredible positions. You don't know what the Liberator is, David?
Yeah, I do. I just
Okay.
I'm like, what kind of like, how much stuff does she have in that house? I'm thinking like, whoa.
The pussy operating manual. Yes. The palm.
Okay, my computer's too close. I don't know that you could see. So there's this wedge,
Mm-hmm.
and then it comes with this other step that goes on top, and you can put them in all these different positions, right?
So it makes it very easy for the body to be lined up at the right angle.
Yeah, so it's so important actually, because after my motorcycle accident, 3 herniated discs, my hips were out of place. I didn't have a lot of great sex because I couldn't do the movement. I couldn't get into position. I couldn't move my hips. And that's so important for pleasure, to be able to like have perfect access to your body. The Liberator is a great tool because it makes it possible for anybody with injuries or any body shape to be able to enjoy sex again in a comfortable way.
Ah, I see. It's kind of like remedial recovery, a sex aid.
Yep.
Wheelchair for sex.
Wheelchair for sex. This wheel of it, right? This wheel.
Now, there are other versions of it also that can add many more positions onto it. So I think that was the first generation Liberator you're showing there. So there's ones that unfold like a freaking transformer, and it allows you to easily enter like 12 or 15 different positions.
So is that made out of high density sponge?
Yes, and a cover that's easily washable.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, it's not just for like physical therapy sex, right? It's, if you get in the positions, then you can access different parts of your body and angles and that are not easily accessible.
It lines the hips up, right? So the thrusting action is correct if you're using it the doggy style. Or if the hips are and the legs are in the right position and you're going on and the body's in an upright position, it actually mechanically aligns everything perfect.
Yeah, there's a lot of people don't know the exercises that they need. I mean, Holly gave a legit exercise. For the men in the chat room, a lot of y'all are quite horrible at oral sex. So the exercise that you really should be trying is to get yourself a grape. Go to the store, get yourself a grape. Regular grape. Might be white, it might be regular red or orange, red or purple grapes. Put one into your mouth. Peel the skin off the grape without damaging the inside. You're thinking, nah, that's impossible. Yes, it is possible. You have to learn tongue dexterity and how to move your teeth and how to move your mouth. And that's your homework. All of you guys need to learn that. And if you're a woman, you need to learn that as well. Okay? Tongue dexterity is a very important thing. Get yourself a grape, put it in your mouth. Try to take the skin off without using your hands. Don't do this. Put it in your mouth, roll it around in your mouth, and take the skin off. Peel the grape with your tongue and your teeth. And
get the app OMG, yes.
Yes, and we're going to definitely get, yes. So the combination, you got your tongue dexterity, you could turn it and twist it in all different kinds of shapes and so on. And yeah, get the OMG app, and then you know what to do with those teeth and that tongue. Make sense? Sounds like a plan, guys, or not really?
There will be tests later. Now
Because
there
I'm
are,
sure you want to create a Facebook group with this.
the naked grape. That'll be the next Facebook group.
Well, also learning that, like, so if you learn that dexterity and OMGS, it's also learning like that you can listen to constructive criticism and not take it personal.
Exactly.
So it's like, don't
Yep.
take it personal. All I'm doing is saying, like, that didn't feel good to my body. Can you try this?
Can you and David go through a scenario where one's being evasive about it not being right? So
You want to be the man, and you want to be the man, and I'll be the woman.
Yes.
Sure.
All right. A little more to the left.
Here,
right
okay.
there. Right there. Right there. Okay, stop. Stop. Can you press a little harder?
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems too mechanical. Can you be more natural with it? People are going to talk to you like that. Look at how Holly's taking it, right? She's taking it from the position of a student. One of the biggest problems with regard to sexuality is people don't come to sexuality as the student. They always come as the teacher. I'm a man. I've had sex with lots of people and I know exactly what to do. No, you don't. Everybody's body is different. And what felt good for one person is not going to feel good for another person, right? And what is required from you is that you be adaptable. So if you want your woman to come and you associate your ego with her coming, then you might want to start with the baby steps first of all, okay? And listen to her. So in what has happened with Holly and myself, there's Holly has said, thanks for the instruction. Okay, it encourages me to give her more instruction. Okay, because let me tell you something. You may think that, well, this is annoying. A lot of people have a problem with oral sex in that for a lot of people, they think it takes too long. It takes too long because you haven't tried my grape exercise. One of the fun things about the grape exercise, it teaches you patience. So if you have to stay down there for an hour, stay down there for an hour. Get your neck in shape, get your tongue in shape, and stay down there for an hour. Do what it takes. The magic is in right? Stay down there and take as long as it takes. Because a lot of you guys, y'all don't understand it, but part of sexuality is an energetic exchange. And so when you get impatient because you just want to get inside this woman, and she's telling you, okay, a little bit more, and she's taking long to come or whatever else, what is happening with you is that you're putting out that impatient vibe, which makes her feel uncomfortable, okay? So the next woman that you decide that you're going to give oral sex to or go down on, start with this phrase. Take as long as you want. I'm good. I'm good. I'll just be here, pretend I don't exist. Okay? And do your duty as a lover or as a husband or as a boyfriend or whatever you are. Get down there and do your duty and enjoy it. So, Holly, what are the ways? Holly, step out of it, Holly. What are the ways?
I wanted to say something to that.
Go ahead, Holly. Go ahead, Holly.
And so I know a sexual might be like hearing this and like, it's always going to take this long. Dude, you can, and I'm not just talking to men, you can negotiate. Okay, great. I'm going to give you 2-3 hours, all the timelessness that you need today. Tomorrow I get fucked. Like, can I have that? Like, I just want to go for it on like at this.
It's okay
I want
to
a
haggle.
time.
It's okay to haggle.
Yeah, actually,
It's
you
okay
can
to haggle.
negotiate for your needs. If she's going to take 3 hours to get there, then you can say, I want a day where I just don't have to do anything and I just get my dick sucked and then you ride my cock and I just get to come. Like, you get to say those things when you start having these conversations.
I don't know about that, guys, because then you could meet a real haggler. All right. You'll meet a real haggler. I want 2 fuck sessions and I'll give you 20 minutes of oral.
Well, then you'll have to learn sexual haggling and increase that skill.
Yeah.
The haggling might be what turns them on.
That could be a part of kink. Like, oh, we're
Yeah.
negotiating now.
Exactly.
I wonder what all I can get out of this.
So we've got a question from the chat room. Can we talk about the challenges of not being able to have an orgasm with partners without toys? And this is from Cassandra.
Yes, sure. So that just, I guess it would depend, like, what kind of toys are you using that gives you the orgasm?
They're not having any orgasms. They're
But with
orgasmless.
toys, they're having.
Even with toys, they're not.
Oh, okay. So,
Zero orgasm.
Right, zero orgasm. So that what's coming up for me is that, like, if you're not having an orgasm, then you're not being stimulated in the way that's feeding your body. And so it may take a longer time of warming up. Most likely, I mean, I don't want to say most likely. A lot of times it is like you're not warmed up enough, which means you may be a sensual, and you need more of the time and space and the atmosphere. Maybe you haven't learned what turns your body on yet. Can you have an orgasm by yourself? Do you know how to access an orgasm on your own? So there's lots of questions to ask, and then there might be underlying emotional issues, like different things, traumas in your life. And they don't have to be big traumas. Like, when I say trauma, I'm not talking about like somebody got raped or beat up or like whatever, abused, whatever. It could be like, I was told that it's not okay to have pleasure in my body, and that came at your system like an injury, and now you can't have that orgasm. So any of these little limitations or blocks in your energetic field or in your emotional field can stop you from getting to that place of pleasure. And so, like, actually that's where coaches come in. Like, we have tools to walk you through how to unwind those things that is stopping you from having what you desire.
I also want to point something out here. When I was practicing, I did have a situation where you had a woman who had trouble having an orgasm. And the reason why I'm going to try to bring this across to you in the most delicate way possible, I mean the members of the audience, is that sometimes you're not having an orgasm because you have a blind spot. Let me tell you what this lady's blind spot. We're going to call a person X. She was having sex and she tried everything to have an orgasm with a partner, and it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. They eventually broke up. She was in my office. Then she met another partner, right? And he was into that rough thing. So the first time she got strangled, she had the most massive orgasm of her life. Okay? And when I say massive orgasm, I mean she came into my office after that night, and she was physically changed. The woman looked like 20 years younger. I'm like, what the hell happened to you? Right? It was visible. So a lot of you have a lot of issues around kink and BDSM and so on. But because she had that roughness, that domination, that was a blind spot for her. She would have never have gone there. Mm-hmm. She would have never have gone there. But the first time this man held her and just owned her. To put another kind of phrase, she had the most massive orgasm of her life. All right, and this is somebody who could not even come properly, even in her own imagination. But this man was able to accomplish that for her, and she realized that she wanted to be dominated. Go ahead, Holly.
Yeah, I would say that's those blinders are what we have when we don't understand like how we're sexually wired. So that's the gift of learning basically your blueprint. And because then you learn the thing that's actually going to turn you on. Your partner may not be approaching you in the right way for you.
Yeah, and a lot of people have issues around kink, and maybe the answer is in actually the kink part. Okay, a lot of people.
It's because the problem is because of the taboo. So they're not willing to explore that thing that they deem as shameful. That like on the taboo, like, oh, this is shameful. It's something I get to hide. If you take the taboo off of it, it might not be that much fun for the kinky person, you know. So
even in the erotic blueprint community, we have someone who is a specialist in BDSM. She was actually on the show, and she remembered an event in her life when she actually played in BDSM. Okay, so for you guys out there who have a lot of judgment around kink and so on, I want y'all to just get rid of it. Just throw it in the garbage, because it changes the way that you think. A lot of people have a lot of judgment around building scenarios in their mind. Okay, and that's where your sex life becomes very boring. Now, what Holly was saying is actually quite true. You want to change things up a bit, and changing things up a bit might be a different position, or it might be a different persona. Holly, tell us about personas.
Okay, so a persona is basically it's a part of yourself that wants to be expressed. So one of my personas is one where, like, she likes to be paraded around by a big, beautiful David. I wanted to do this with you at the erotic blueprint thing.
You just talked to me, yes.
I did.
So Holly and I were at the erotic blueprint convention. We were.
I told them that we went to this already. That's
all right. Good. All right, good.
So we were at a convention and they do this erotic persona parade, right? And if I got to be part of that, like, I wanted to wear my persona, where, like, I get to wear really sexy, beautiful clothes and be paraded around by a big, beautiful man. And everybody wants, like, there's this energy where they want to approach, they want to touch, they want to talk, but they can't, because there's this energy, like this blocked wall, like you want it, but you can't have it. That's a dark energetic trait. And that's my dark energetic persona that wanted to come out. And I just wanted to be paraded around until I said, okay, it's all right. And then he would offer me to who I said it was okay. So, like, that's one of my personas that just wants to be, I guess, protected and kept away as a treat that you get when I say it's okay.
Andrew, did you get the energetic vibe shift in the audience?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
I got an energetic vibe shift of the audience. Like, did you feel people getting hot in here? We need to talk more about that.
So David, there's some lady in a bathtub right now. Some lady in a bathtub right now parading you around.
Right. So, yeah, there are a number of different ways that your persona can come out. Like Holly was talking about a dark energetic, right? There's no puns intended. I have dark energetic running inside of me as well. Like hint, hint. Like a whole bunch of people in the audience are like, oh, that's really news to us. It's not like we couldn't figure that out. So,
that's why I want to do it with you, David, because you would get, like, you'd be the vibe with me. Like, it'd really feed that part of me.
So for those of you who are listening to this, if you are titillated by this conversation, you know that you have some kink running. We all do. You know you got some kink running, and explore it, find it.
Right. That persona was an example of dark energetic and psychological kink. Like, you want it, you can't have it. Now you can have it. Yeah, it's just playing that psychological kink game.
Correct. Put on the big girl and big man panties. Okay, probably big man panties. Actually, that can be part of the kink as well. Put on your big man panties and walk out.
And get that David's dirty bathwater ready.
Not the dirty bathwater.
That was from our comedy show.
Okay.
That was so wrong. So wrong. That comedy show was so wrong. You gotta watch that, Holly. Anyway, so no, honestly, yeah, explore that parts of yourself. I'm sure some of you here in the audience who are women, y'all want to be dominated. Y'all want somebody to hold you, drag you towards their chest, and tell them, I'm going to do things to you.
Or you want to be the dirty slut, like that part of you that you've suppressed and made shameful. Just embody that slut. Like, what would she wear? How would she talk? What would she ask for? You know, embody the thing and just play with it like it's a game, like you're putting on a little show for yourself or your lover. But so persona work is actually really deep work, because you're owning these parts of yourself that you've denied. Yes. So I want to say that you can't just go into persona work and show up as somebody different. If you've been in this relationship for any amount of time and you just show up in the bedroom dressed completely different, like thigh high boots, that are like 6-inch tall, and you're
With the collar,
like
and the collar in your hand
and a whip,
handcuffs.
and you just go into your very Christian husband's bedroom and be like, my
Turn
name
around,
is right, and like call yourself a new name, and that you're gonna scare the shit out of him. So like this is also a conversation to have, like, I'm gonna try this on, an agreement in your relationship.
Yes,
before
here's
you
a
scare
great
shit out of
bitch.
somebody.
Here's a great bitch. Thank you, Andrea.
Feel that shit.
So persona work can actually go really deep, and but you just try on different parts of you that want to be expressed. And that's what basically exploring your erotic personas is.
Honestly speaking, if you let it out, it is extremely healing.
Mhm.
If you just let yourself go. All right. And when I say let yourself go, within limits, of course. Don't be tying up your Christian husband and strangling him suspended from the ceiling. He might
or telling him to dress up like the priest.
Unless you get trained in that tying up from the ceiling, and you have an agreement. Like if he decided, oh yeah, I want to play that role, go ahead and do that to your Christian husband with the best safety in mind.
Here's the other thing that people don't get. Some of you have really hot partners, wives and so on. Y'all don't appreciate them very much. So one of the things you could play at is, and I keep saying this on the show every time we're on the show, strip naked. Seriously. Are you okay? That's golden. Right. No, honestly, some of you have really hot partners. You need to be naked in front of each other. You need to do that thing. Okay, the reason why you get to lust. Lust is a very integral component in the whole sex game. Okay, and when you look at your partners and you say, oh, I really like the way that looks, right? A little dribble comes down, you know. A little dribble. I want to taste some of that. The energy that is created between you and your partner is an energy that is built, that will sustain you through years and years. Because if you think that you're going to be married to somebody and 5 years down the road, oh, you know, it's that time of the week again, we're going to have sex. Come on. Right? You're not doing a good job if you're doing that thing. You need to change and adapt with the times. Okay? So it doesn't matter what your partner comes in. You need to build a story around that thing. Your partner, for instance, may forget to color their hair one day and a little gray is showing. So now you're fucking the spinster that hasn't been touched in a while, right? Change that shit around.
The librarian.
The librarian. Miss Watkins from school or whatever else, right? You are actually changing it around. Change it around. No matter what your partner comes in, your partner may come in from working out. Oh, that bitch at the gym that I've always wanted. You know what I mean?
That's right. The lemon Lulu pants. There you go.
No.
So real quick, let me step in here. We're gonna be taking calls here in a minute, and I'm gonna reach out to everyone that's listening right now. Raise your hand. All those women out there have never had a chance to talk to a sexual coach. Here's a moment for you. All the men out there, this isn't for your fucking galactic history. And if you ask a galactic history question, I'm gonna kick you off the show. Okay?
With a spoon or without a spoon?
With a wooden spoon in my foot. Okay?
I gotta go get the spoon. I gotta go get the spoon.
Now, learn how to raise your hand. I know a lot of you are like, I don't know. I can't ask a question. I'm meek. Bitch, ask a question. Okay? Learn how to get in touch with yourself. If you are listening on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, or whatever else you're listening on, come on into the Zoom room. If you want to be selected as a caller, Robert's going to put up some information of how to join the Zoom room. We're going to be taking fast fire questions, so do not have a 97-part question. Be direct and forward. And right now, there's a bunch of chicken shits that haven't raised their hand here. Oh, Holly, is there anything you'd like to do to encourage people to raise their hand and not be a wallflower?
Well, I just like to invite that this is really a no judgment space. If you haven't noticed already, there's
I have
nothing.
my spoon.
Yes. There is nothing that you can ask that is going to be judged here, really. Like, there's no stupid question. And if you just feel uncomfortable asking, then I would say ask and get that out of the way, because this is a place where it's safe.
All right, Robert, let's bring on Josh Diepold. He was the first one that raised his hand.
Josh, you're unmuted for your question.
Hey, how's it going? I already asked this earlier, though. It's a little more of a spiritual side of sexuality, I guess. Well, I mean, it's all spiritual, right? But
real quick, Josh, where are you calling from today?
Oh, Missouri.
Missouri. Welcome to the show. Go ahead, shoot with your question.
Thanks. Hey, so I don't know if you guys- what's that?
Shoot with your question.
Okay, well, cover your face. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for playing with us.
Okay, so I don't think anybody's here. Well, David might have. He's a hatha practitioner, hatha yoga practitioner. There's these things called absorption states, jhanas or dhyanas, where, like, I guess the first or second one is like you get into this thing they call rapture. So it just kind of feels like you're having like a continuous orgasm for like almost an indefinite amount of time until you go to the next one. I was wondering if anybody's achieved that, but in how that would compare to some of the tantric practices, because I haven't got into any of those yet. So, and I'm going to take my question off the line here. So thank you all.
Okay, so Josh, I can speak to that. Here is the thing: when you are having what you're describing, actually is part of tantra. Okay. Now, a lot of people, they've diluted this thing so much, it's sad. Tantra can be complex, but the aspect of Tantra, you're describing the state of orgasm, and riding the orgasm is riding the wave, it's called, or surfing the wave, as our American friends like to call it. Riding the wave is basically when you have an orgasm, you say that the orgasm is a physical phenomenon, okay? You got spasming going on, whatever else. But really and truly, the orgasm is also a mental state that's happening. And so the body only responds to directives from the mind. One of the worst things that your partner could do when it is that you come is to stop fucking you. And a lot of you make this mistake. If you are a man and a woman is coming and say, oh, she's come, let me stop. No, 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 no. Ride that orgasm with her. You need to be in her mentally, spiritually, and ride that orgasm with her. Because the thing that a lot of you guys do is like, oh, she made that sound, so I stopped. No, this is not spanking. There's no safe word for orgasms. No, there's not. You ride that horse till it's dead. No, not
until she says slow down or stop.
Okay, right? You ride the horse until it's dead, until she asks you to stop. Because the thing about connecting orgasms or making running one wave to another wave is the following: is that there is a down part to the orgasm. So let me just see if I can. Well, I can't draw it. So imagine your hair, and then sexuality builds up, and then there's a peak, right? What happens to a lot of yours that it drops all the way back down? No, you drop it here, you ride it across, and you peak it again. That's how you run an orgasm. You run it one into another. A lot of women are multi-orgasmic and they don't know it because a lot of the men that they're with don't understand that women do not have the same limitations as men when it comes to pleasure. Okay? So men are not supposed to have these limitations. You could certainly work with that. So the Hatha Yoga exercises that we have created over the years with the various yogis is root locking. If you don't know how to root lock, you guys are going to do it now. Once again, Andrew, we're doing a root lock exercise. Enough of this halfway sex shit. Okay? I want all of you to sit down right now who are listening to my voice, and we're going to practice Hatha Yoga root locking. I want you to understand that when it is that you are practicing Muladhara Bandha, When it is that you're practicing, let me give you the anatomy first. Your anal sphincter and your the sphincter which controls your ejaculations, all of these sphincters are connected via reflex. Once again, we're going to run that. We're going to run that. We're going to run that very shortly. What you do is you just simply have control of your anal sphincter, squeeze and release. Squeeze your anal sphincter and release it. Squeeze it and release it. Now squeeze it with the intent of creating heat. I want, when this call is done, because we have other callers to come onto the show, you guys to go practice root locking for at least 5 minutes, right? And then see how it changes your sex life. Don't take David's word for it, try it. Okay? For the women inside the chat room, your vaginal sphincters is linked to your anal sphincter, in case you're wondering how women have orgasms when they have anal sex. It's because the sphincters are linked, okay? So you're gonna squeeze and release slowly, right? Check out how it changes your sex life. Just check it out. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Josh, did I answer your question? This is when you're using Hatha Yoga, these are the exercises. It puts your body into a state for increased sexuality. Actually, Hatha Yoga is a complete overhaul, I should say, of your entire body systems, including your nervous system. You can ride the orgasm from one to another if your nervous system is adapted towards sexuality. But most people's nervous systems are not. They just don't know. Right? They just don't know. And for the women out there, when your man is ejaculating and so on, don't stop fucking him. Don't stop.
Holly, is there anything you want to add to that?
Just that is a conversation too. Like,
yes.
So some want you to stop. So I can ride the orgasmic wave forever. And then when I get to a climax and I come, I want my guy to stop. I'm like, be still, don't move, let me have it.
Or you're going to get the spoon.
Right. So there's other moments where I'm like, just keep going. So every time, it may not be the same every time. And yeah, we can ride the wave. Both, like men and women can both ride that wave. Climax typically is the stopping point. But you can ride an orgasmic wave. An orgasm is just like this wave of pleasure that flows through your body, and it can show up in different ways with people. And it can last as long as you're willing to receive that much pleasure and how much time you have.
I just wanted to say something as well. For the men in the audience who don't know what a non-ejaculatory orgasm is, it is a thing. You can have it. And when you have a non-ejaculatory orgasm, it means that you actually can have sex a lot longer. Okay, because the ejaculation is what triggers the nervous system shutdown. What if you can have the mental component of the orgasm and still keep going? Think of the possibilities. Somebody's going to die.
All right, with that in mind, we're going to move on to the next caller. Robert, let's unmute Cassandra Rose.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hello, Cassandra. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from New York City.
New York City. Welcome to the call. What do you want? What questions do you have for us?
Well, I kind of already got my question answered. I appreciate it, regarding the difficulties achieving an orgasm with a partner without using a toy involved, such as a vibrator. And I guess moving further with that question, a lot of difficulties is I have challenges receiving pleasure from touch. And I think Holly addressed a lot of my concerns regarding, figuring out what is it for me that works best. But there are a lot of traumas involved as well with physical touch. So that was one of my main questions. And even though I can, and I've explored the idea of my own physical touch, it's still somewhat of a difficult thing for me. So vibrators have always been the easiest and the most comfortable. And I want to be able to release those restrictions and boundaries and be able to explore with my partner's and have more of that intimate connection.
So I got a question for you. What kind of job do you do?
So I'm an ICU nurse.
Okay, so you have a medical perception to your touch, and you've been an ICU nurse for a long time,
Yes.
and you have traumas in your life.
Yes.
So Holly, are there any trauma release things you'd might want to do with her?
Well, there's a trauma release process. I would not want to do it on this call.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
So that's actually a private conversation for another time. And what I would offer is like, if there traumas that you think are really controlling your life, trauma therapy, look into that. And it's like the first step is really just being vulnerable about that. And it might be a safe place for you to start playing in energetic, like learning what energetic sex looks like, and then unwinding that way, and see what layers dissolve as you explore sexuality without touch, or with a lighter touch. And if is your partner safe? Like, these are good questions to ask. Like, when you're exploring with somebody, do you feel safe with them? Because that will have a lot to do with how your body reacts to them.
Or we could just simply get an email from Holly, and y'all could work that stuff out. Cassandra, with regard to trauma and stuff like that, honestly, childhood traumas and adult traumas as well, they have a way of blocking out your sun, so to speak. Okay. As long as you have them on board, what's going to happen? You're never going to be fully expressing yourself. This is a statement of fact. So I get this. I used to get this a lot in my office. So I'm going to tell you two things where this is concerned. The first thing is that you may need help resolving these traumas, right? And you may need help resolving some of the traumas that you're talking about, especially if it's affecting your life in the area of sexuality. You definitely do need help. Trying to tackle it on your own might not be advised, because you will always go into avoidance strategies where this is concerned. And if it's preventing the full expression of yourself to your partners, you might want to think about that. The second thing I would like to say, where trauma and trauma release are concerned, I believe Holly and I actually did some training in trauma therapy together. So there are two methodologies that you could use. You could use the A360 method, and Holly, I believe, is very trained in that method. And you can also use what somebody's actually saying there, the somatic experiencing method. Okay, either which one is a viable alternative. But I do know that I could vouch for Holly being a wonderful coach. So for all of you, the reason why she's on the show is that she's exceptional. Really, we only bring exceptional people on the show. And she's also fun.
The movers and shakers.
Thanks.
So, Cassandra, I have one more thing to you. There are times that our job has an undue influence over our home life. Now, I work with a lot of people who are doctors and nurses. And after a while, you'll have to learn how to take the nurse out of you, but also make the nurse a part of you. Have you ever explored with any of those concepts, being maybe the naughty nurse or something to that effect?
No, but I've always avoided. Oh, sorry.
Why you avoided it? Why did you avoid it?
Well, I just didn't like the whole like cliche nurse type outfit, that kind of thing, because it's a very different environment, like in the real thing, and our scrubs are nothing like.
You can be sexy in scrubs, yes, you can.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys like it actually, but I just never purposely explored it, which I don't think I would be opposed. It's just I never went the whole sex shop dress up way, because that's completely different than my reality.
Cassandra, how do you feel about sex?
I love it actually. I think that I want to become even more connected with it, and I actually don't have a lot of partners, and I don't have a partner right now, so it's not something I can immediately explore, but I do feel like it's very healthy to have a healthy sex life.
Do you explore it on your own?
Yes.
Yeah, you explore your own sexuality.
Yeah.
So
Are
one
you
more.
nervous right
'cause-
now, Cassandra?
Sorry?
Are you nervous right now speaking to
A
us about this
little.
stuff?
Well, because I
Well-
want to say that exploring sex on your own is a sex life.
Okay.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Just
it
don't
is
fall in love with your fantasy.
your own sexuality, your own pleasure by yourself. I did it for 2 years when
Yeah.
I was learning how to relate with men in a better way, more healthy way. I just stayed away from them for 2 years and explored my own sexuality, and that gave me the depth and unwound some traumas that I needed to work on my own before I went to take it to another partner.
Yeah. I would say in the last, how many years? Maybe like the last few years or so, I was actually more comfortable with the concept of sex. I was abused a lot as a child and as a teenager and in my 20s.
Mhm.
So I would say I'm a bit nervous or uncomfortable because it's more, I guess more, I'm a little more shy than I think I realized about it.
I know, because it's coming across in your voice right now. So I'm gonna do a little bit of Holly, I think you should probably do. You want to do a die-head with her?
I'm sure I can do that. Would you like
Um,
to?
Yeah, go ahead. We can't do the trauma release on air, but we can certainly do a diet for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
For the audience, explain what a dyad is.
Okay, so a dyad is a communication tool that helps you access deeper layers of a topic, of something that's got you stuck, something that you're trying to work through, or a goal that you have. So basically, a dyad is two people. We go back and forth, or not back and forth. So I'm going to facilitate a dyad, means I'm going to ask her, I'm going to give her the same prompt multiple times, and she's just going to answer with the first thing that comes into her system, like into her mind. It's not really like think about a response, but when you're asked a prompt, the thing that comes up for you without and it can be vulnerable, the things that will come up. So I want to get your permission. Is this something that you would like to explore, or would you like to have my email to explore it in a private setting?
Obviously, I feel like the email would be the easier way. So I'm going to challenge myself by being vulnerable to the public.
Beautiful.
By trying it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So let me see. Okay. Tell me something about sex.
Um,
And so you can, when I give you the prompt, you can go ahead and close your eyes and just really get centered within yourself and try to come out of your head and just allow what what comes up to come up, and let that be what's real in this moment. And there's no wrong answer. It's just basically, as you go, more layers will fall away, and you'll see what's underneath and what's there for you and what's true for you.
okay. It
So
can be fun.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
It can be fun.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
Oh, it can be painful.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
I want it.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
I don't know everything about it.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
It scares me sometimes.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
It makes my heart beat.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
I don't know, my mind's blank.
It's okay to take your time. You don't have to answer right away. You can just sink in. We might be getting to some deeper layers for you, and that's okay to take your time. So just close your eyes, Maybe take a deep breath. Tell me something about sex.
It makes me want to cry.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
I wish that I could receive pleasure from it.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
I don't know what to say. I feel like I'm blocking myself.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
I deserve a healthy relationship with sex.
Thank you. Tell me something about sex.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
Thank you. Okay. So we could go on like that for about 40 minutes. That's how long a dyad lasts. I have other questions. So tell me something you're more conscious of now than before.
Sorry, my dog's growling in the background. That, yeah, she probably senses an energetic thing. I think that there's more deeper trauma than I have fully allowed myself to see or understand. And whether it's a combination, it feels like energetic, physical, mental, emotional barriers that I thought that I've come a long way overcoming, but they're deeper. And I think this is an area that I guess I'm being pointed to focus to help better my healing.
Thank you. Tell me something, one thing that you can do today to live what you learned more fully in your life.
Have a conversation with myself to give myself permission to heal from whatever is holding me back.
Beautiful. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us to feel complete?
That I thank you for your time and all of you for listening to be supportive of this experience.
Thank you, Cassandra. Thanks for your vulnerability.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for raising your hand, Cassandra.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's as simple as asking yourself the questions and allowing the answers to come. Now, when you're working with a coach, such as Holly, David, or whatever situation, there's a person to help hold you accountable to let those natural answers come forward. But you can achieve these same processes on your own to begin the inner work. And when you run into those hard questions that don't have real answers or have confusing statements to themselves, this is when you reach out to people like Holly. All right, so we're going to pull another caller in. Robert, why don't we bring in Koji next?
Koji, you're unmuted.
Koji, are you there?
Yes, hi. I'm calling from Sydney, Australia. How are you going, guys?
Sydney, Australia. Welcome to the show. Hey, great. What questions did you have for us?
Guys, I just need to know why do everybody like in the world is against like anal sex? Like major religions, Islam, Christianity, like, you know, everybody says sodomy is against like humanity, or I don't know how to say it, but like, you know.
No, I understand what you're saying. Well, I could give you the historical perspective where this is concerned. I think it comes from, Koji, the fact that anal sex has the really bad reputation of not producing any offspring. And so from a Darwinist perspective, from a human evolution perspective, a lot of people are against it. But then move all the science aside, and people don't like it because they associate it with filth or dirtiness or dirty act. So in the Bible, for instance, the word sodomy comes from a place called Sodom and Gomorrah, where God sent just a friendly meteorite and wiped out the whole city. right? Because they were practicing that anal sex practice. Yes, with a wooden spoon in my hands. I'm instructing with a wooden spoon, right? They were instructing with the anal. They were practicing anal sex. That's where the word Sodom and Gomorrah comes from. But I think a lot of people associate it with a deviant behavior. And the reason why deviancy, whether it be homosexuality, whether it be a scientific reason, as in it doesn't produce off, whether it be a filth reason, people don't like it because the majority of people do not engage in it. And as a result of it, people generally tend to look at it as a deviant from the norm. A lot of people in the world right now, they want to try anal sex, but they won't. Okay? They won't. It was always associated with a certain kind of culture, like men who had sex with men. And the negative look when it comes to men having sex with men is that the negative look or the negative stigma that came out of it was that these men were not productive members of society, whether it be in Africa, whether it be in India, or whatever else. They weren't seen as productive members of society, but this was bullshit and we know it. But it doesn't change the mind, right, from viewing them as such. And that's where you get it mapped into religion, society, and so on. Okay? For women, it was a bad thing because if men are liking each other, you remember George Michael?
Yeah.
You remember the guy from Wham, George Michael? Did you know he was gay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how many hearts he broke all over the world? You know how many people are going like, careless whisper. He was singing to a man, right? Yeah, that pissed off a whole bunch of women. So they're not going to necessarily like men like George Michael being gay because it's like, yeah, what about us? Okay, so that's all the selfish reasons which make this stigma against anal sex or any of that kind of behavior. They see it as deviant and it takes away something from them. And I've made the point on the show that if you're a man and you're against homosexuality or anal sex, then you have a problem. Because as I said to you, said on the show, that means that there's more women for you if men are gay. You know what I mean? So why shoot yourself in the foot with a wooden spoon? You know, right? So that's my 2 cents. You guys can jump in.
So anal, what I'll say about anal is that it's another way that we limit ourselves. There's constructs of this reality that stop us from having all the pleasures of the reality and all the greatness. So being resistant to anything, including anal sex, is a way that we limit ourselves from receiving something. So like one instruction that I've heard people receive from one of my mentors is, if you're not receiving something like sex magic, right? If you're not receiving the amount of income that you'd like, explore anal sex and overcome that limitation and allow yourself to receive in a new way. And that opens up so many more possibilities in your life because you're just receiving from this new place, receiving pleasures from this new place, or just receiving, exploring that and receiving. So like anal sex is a way to receive, and the constructs of this reality are put in place so that we are limited by the things that we can receive, and our lives aren't as expanded as they can be. It's something that was put in place.
I see.
Andrew, you want to weigh in here?
So the stigma, cultural taboo, religious taboo, and then the shame, blame, and guilt that's enforced onto you who are others demanding one conforms. All those are a soup in the choice. But when one finds a love, let's say they're a homosexual love, that is the process along with the other that they're using. And there is nothing wrong with it. All too often our ancients were some destructive, kinky ass bitches that did some stuff with young kids. Okay. And the church is still doing it in its own way. And it really comes down to, if there are laws in your area, don't tell anyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the journey of being who you are and risking attack from a community is ultimately going to be your personal choice. To embrace who you are means to accept who you are and to take pleasure from who you are. And if the person you're with, you're gaining pleasure from them, not only is there nothing wrong, there's more to explore with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, I see. Also, I've got one question for Holly.
Mhm.
Do all girls enjoy anal sex, or they just pretending not to enjoy it?
I would say that that depends on an individual thing. Some people haven't ever explored it because of the shame that you speak of, because of the societal construct, because of whatever they think it means to have anal. So like if you are exploring with somebody and they don't like it, then you could do the dyad that I just did and say, what does anal sex mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what anal sex means to you. It just means something different to each person, and some women like absolutely enjoy it, and some just can't enjoy it because they can't wrap their mind around it. Like a sensual may not enjoy anal ever because of the dirtiness of it. Like they may be in their sensual shadow and think that it's so dirty, and they may never get there.
Why
It's
they
really
feel
go ahead.
why they feel dirty? I don't get that part of it.
Because there's poop.
Ah,
Because they don't want poop on the penis. They don't, like, some people are really ashamed of their bodily fluids, and they don't want to have to deal with that, or the mess that comes with that, or the smell that comes with that. They just may be ashamed of the bodily fluid, and that's it.
okay.
That may be the only thing, is like, oh, it's gross because poop is gross, and it may
I
be
see.
it's terrible because it hurts.
Yes, and they wouldn't know what anal plunging is either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You
So
also
it
have
just
to
takes
you also
education.
have to you also have to learn how to know your partner and what their body is telling you. Also, all too often it can turn out to be rough without an intention behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot for calling in, Koji. We're going to move on to one more caller. All right, Robert. Let's bring in Regina. Robert.
I'm
Regina.
unmuted.
Hi, Regina. Where are you calling from?
Oregon, Southern Oregon.
Welcome to the show. What questions do you have to ask for us?
Actually, I didn't have any questions. You just threatened us, so I raised my hand.
That's a good girl, Regina.
I have the spoon. I have the spoon. Regina, bend over. Okay. Regina.
No,
She was a good girl. She was a good girl. What kind of punishment, what kind of reward would you like?
Good girl, bad girl.
well, I'd like to actually handle the spoon.
Ooh.
Ooh. David, bend over. You're going to
Okay.
get spooned.
I like that.
No, I think I'm just glad that I'm older and have been able to explore, and it allows a lot of freedom,
Thank you.
and it's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm alone and single now and widowed, but it still is very healthy to know what you like and know what you don't like, and I'm very thankful for all the previous lovers that I've had.
Mm. What is your Regina? Tell me about your experience with sex in terms of what have you found having the benefit of having separate lovers and so
on. It allows you to explore the things that you would not normally explore. Can you ask that question again? My mind just flipped out. I was thinking of
What have you learned in your sexual journey?
that you can't judge a book by its cover.
Tell us more.
Sometimes a person that presents a persona where you think they're very sexy and you seem to feel attracted to, they sometimes are actually not the best lovers at all. Talking is very important. And I think that's why online relationships sometimes can foster, once you get together, some of the greatest sexual experiences because you actually talk about it prior. Whereas sometimes if you're just going out and dating, you make assumptions rather than having communication about what is liked and what is needed.
Okay, Regina, what is wrong with me?
Yes, you did.
Right. Freudian slip.
Yes, you
Right.
did.
So, yeah, your name. Okay, so
It means queen, you know that.
It what?
It means queen. I was named after my grandmother.
Yeah, Regina. Yeah. Okay,
No.
so I'm gonna call you Regina to avoid the Freudian slip.
Okay.
So, Regina, is it tell us your best and worst sexual experience? We don't need names. We just need
I think the best was when I had a partner who just wanted to actually please me. And he did that for hours. And I was kind of in a comatose state. I wasn't, under the influence of anything, but I was just, that was probably the best. It just went on for hours and hours.
The phrase for that is you were fucked stupid, right?
Well, he didn't even fuck me.
Under the influence of pure pleasure, that is a substance.
Okay, and the worst?
The worst was the one who just wanted to just do the intercourse thing. I was like, nope, this is not happening. We need to slow down. And they didn't quite understand that. And so they still want to see me and I don't want to see them.
Makes sense. There are a lot, before I make assumption, is this a man or a woman?
It was a man.
Okay.
Didn't want to follow instructions. And they weren't really instructions like I was a Gestapo or anything. It was just.
He was a sexual.
Yeah, he was a sexual.
Yeah, he was a sexual, and you're
to do it
more
at all.
sensual.
Open to any kind of suggestions.
Honestly, the way to, Holly, question, how would you stop a sexual and make them understand that they need to slow down? Give us the wording and the actual method for that.
How I would do it is I would say, I need you to stop. And if you want to have sex with me, then what I need to receive is this. I can't just have sex with you. I need more than that. Can you please do this, this, and this? And if not, then I would stop the entire experience. Just stop it.
Yep, that's what I did.
If I can't have the things that I need.
Okay.
Regina, thanks a lot for calling in. We're nearing the end of our show right now. Holly, you want to give a way for people to get a hold of you, a website, anything like that?
Yes. So I don't actually have a website up yet. So you can contact me at holly@shamelessexplorations.com, and also find me on Facebook at Shameless Explorations. It's a private group that I have, and you just basically get introduced to a lot of different coaches and methodologies, and these processes like the one that I did with Cassandra.
Okay.
That's it for people that are listening on the other site. It's HOLLY at shamelessexplorations.com. And David, want to give people a way to get a hold of you?
Yes, it's always going to be info@unifiedhealthsystems.com. Okay, I'll be sure to respond to you guys.
And for everyone that you want to get a hold of me, go to andrewbartzis.com. Make sure you hit like and share on this video. I'd like to see this video get 100 shares on Facebook. You, the audience, can make that happen. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll be back this Thursday for our Galactic History call-in show.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Robert, take us away.
Thank you, everybody.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence. Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important? Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.